and Planning Committee at the National Assembly. The reason why we are here is to have a conversation about the reforms the country has made or not over the last 1 year since the promise by the President that several things are going to happen following the withdrawal of the Finance Bill 2024. Among them, austerity measures, cutting budgets, cutting on confidential votes, cutting on development expenditure that was touching on some institutions like the Presidency or State House and the Office of the Deputy President. What have we seen later? A year later, rather. Before we get into that conversation, yesterday there were several conversations going on in different locations. A report released by IMLU indicating that over 600 persons have been injured over the last 1 year, especially touching on the 2024 protests, killings, about 63, no justice being served. The Independent Police Oversight Authority, led by the chairperson Isaka Sani, is saying that the biggest challenge is non-cooperation by the police service, to an extent that only 25% of cases of police officers killed, or rather members of the public who are killed or die in police custody are reported. The rest having to come out as reports from complainants, families, media, as well as a public outrage. But before then, the warmongers is the main story that is on the Daily Nation. Some of President William Ruto's allies have sent a chilling warning to Gen Z, civil society activists and opposition politicians planning to take part in the countrywide protest tomorrow to mark the first anniversary of the June 2025 historic invasion of Parliament, that they may not return to their homes. These regrettable statements, apart from stoking public anger, depict state officials who are insensitive to the plight of Kenyans who lost their loved ones in the deadly demos against punitive taxes and government excesses, and risk plunging the country into anarchy. That's the main story that is on the Daily Nation. But on the Standard, they are talking about exposed in a chilling expose. Is it? The Standard uncovers messaging in WhatsApp groups run by government bloggers and officials, UDS Secretariat staff and parastatal chiefs, where they have been planning how to infiltrate peaceful protests in the city, generating propaganda aimed at media houses and prominent individuals seen critical of the government. The tactics include unleashing goons to cause mayhem with clear instructions to steal smartphones from protesters to stop them from capturing images of the protests and police brutality. Now, those are the headlines this morning, but I want us to begin from the point where different agencies are saying that no justice has been served to the Gen Z protesters. Diana, what do you say to this, and how do you ensure there is accountability at a time that IPOA is already saying that it has faced quite some serious challenges, especially on cooperation from the National Police Service?
Of course, it's a very sad thing and unfortunate that as we commemorate June 25th, the day the Kenyan people decided to exercise in the biggest way the sovereign power of the people. They were met with brute force. They were killed. A number were killed. Their mothers and fathers continue to weep for justice, but nothing has moved. My expectation would have been that based on what happened on June 25th, Parliament would have led the country as the house of national conversation in a process that gives us justice, and the demands of the Gen Zs were very clear. We must definitely begin with justice for those who were killed, those who are injured, and some based on the death of Albert. You can see even government understands there must be a sense of initial compensation and redress. I think the bar was set at, we should start at 4.5 million for every life lost, then we start the conversation. That is the bar they set. Or, I don't know, the sympathy they showed. The sympathy they showed last week when Albert Ochieng, the president, Ojwang, sorry, gave 2 million. The Prime Minister gave 1 million. The county gave, I think, 4.5. Then we start the none of that happened. We have no inquiry based on the magnitude. Either an independent one should have been established by Parliament to report to it, or Parliament should have conducted hearing across the country. Right. Instead, we were told that the president recently apologized in a fumbled way during a prayer breakfast, and it ended there. IPOA has not moved. Kenya National Commission on Human Rights continues to give us numbers. I doubt for the murders, only Rex, we have seen people being arraigned. Yeah, an inquest that is going on, and what we are hearing just doesn't make sense. But when over 60 people are murdered in a country, we should have a national inquest, because justice in this particular situation is transitional justice, is reparative, is restorative. What we hear instead is a Parliament reminds us, you people said reject the finance bill. We passed it in December. Who died? People have died. And that was never the tone. It was, please relook our fiscal processes. The message, reject the finance bill, was the government does not need to raise additional revenue until it can utilize what it has raised in a prudent way, until we put an end to corruption, until we put an end to inappropriate and unnecessary expenditure. Have those stopped? No. More advisors have been appointed. More ministries and state departments have been created in the most recent reshuffle, which has been hailed by the broad-based government. Nothing serious on corruption has happened whatsoever. And then we have said, leaders, just respect us and stop mocking us and acting arrogant. We are your employers. We are your bosses. Treat us with the respect that we deserve as Kenyans. Has that happened? No, it has not happened. If you look at the headlines, they are still, even the people who are on the street, they are just the politicians. When they come, please, Kenya, wa Kenya, tunastahili heshima. Tunastahili heshima. Na heshima is not what we are seeing 1 year down the line. People have already started going back to the street. It is not a contest. It is about reclaiming this country and resetting this country. We are so far from that.
Oh, all right. Now, Bernard, I know this is not your daily cup, but